Today is July the 18th. We are now on day 199 out of 365, and we have 166 days left in the year. In 1994, Seal released their hit single "Kiss from a Rose." In 1966, NASA launched Gemini 10, space flight in the 10th space flight in the Gemini program. In 1951, American boxer Jersey Joe Walcott became the oldest heavyweight champion at age 37. In 1936, American boxer Charles Luciano, also known as Lucky Luciano, was sentenced to 30 to 50 years in prison. Today is Kristen Bell's birthday. She's an American actress. She's 42. She's married to Dak Shepard, and they own Hello Bello Diaper Factory in Waco. If you've got a few minutes to spare today, why not celebrate these special holidays? Insurance Nerd Day. This is a day for you to allow all your insurance nerd friends to talk about what they love the best. It's also National Caviar Day. We will be remiss in not realizing that it's not on the menu today, but you can treat yourself if you'd like. With that, we're going to ask Larry Olson to start our program.
All right, let's all rise and let's sing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like for Luke Aaron to come up. He's going to give the invocation and introduce our guest today.
Thank you, Rosemary. Let's bow our heads. God and Father of all, we take this time from our busy schedule to say thanks for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We also want to give special thanks to all the financial supporters of our 3 Rotary scholarship programs, which include high school, college, and literacy, and all the applicants striving to better themselves through education. Continue to keep us ever mindful of the needs of others as we move through our Rotary year and live the motto of Rotary, service above self. Amen. Please be seated. We have several guests here today. Curtis Brown has brought 3 guests with him today. Jonathan Brown, Eric Carter, just raise your hand if you would, thank you. Eric Carter, and also Michael Pepperall. Thank you for coming in for Curtis. And we also, Scott Lindsay has brought Carol as a guest. Thanks for having us. Thanks for seeing you. And I brought a guest, Gary Dickhart from Houston. And John Gamble brought Chris Eubank. Words, Chris, thank you. Good to see you. Thanks for all of you coming. Welcome.
We have a few announcements. First of all, I would like to introduce our 4 new board of director members. Hayes Fuller, Dylan Smith, Herb Cross, and Gail Marte. Our Rotary board meeting will be on July 20th at Uncle Dan's. I hope you recognize these folks, so if you didn't like the food today, or you didn't like the speaker we had in March, or your neighbor's cat spotted you, these are the folks you need to report to, and they'll bring it to the board's attention, okay? Saturday, September the 16th, these flowers are on the table. Our district has put together a Rotary night at the ballpark at Dell Diamond Field. There's information on these. You can contact me or Joanne. We can tell you how you get tickets. I think the tickets are like $20. We have 2 programs today. We're going to start with a presentation of the 2023 Waco Rotary Club College Scholarships presented by Harold Rayfuse, chairman of that committee. Harold?
Thank you, Rosemary. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. I've had the distinct privilege and honor for many years of chairing the selection committee. Hear me now? Put it in our college scholarship program. Our program was started 68 years ago. And several hundreds of thousands of dollars have been awarded for scholarships to over 200 students. The generous donations of members of this Rotary Club was the principal source of funding for today's scholarships, also as it has been in the past. The scholarship fund is managed by the Waco Foundation. Gifts to the fund are tax deductible and help increase the principal, which in turn increases the amount of investment income used to fund the scholarship. The eligibility for these scholarships includes either a junior or a senior, upcoming senior or junior in college, or graduate students also. Permanent resident of Clinton County, and the applicants have resided in Clinton County for at least the past 2 years. Each application is graded using the following criteria: financial need, self-help and attaining educational goals, college major and their GPA, since it is a scholarship, participation in school, community, and faith-based activities, citizenship, and the whole person concept. Recommendation letters from interested supporters for each of our applicants. Each year, our scholarship selection committee is comprised of members of our club. This year, Jimmy Haynes Jr., please raise your hand, Jimmy. You all know him, Bill Adrian, and myself. The applications were graded by a member of the selection committee, and the grades were reviewed, averaged among the committee members, rank ordered, and the finalists were selected for interviews. Interviews also were graded, and those scores were combined with the written application scores to determine the final grade for each of our applicants and to select the applicant winners. 3 were chosen this year, and all we had applicants. Scholarship funds are sent directly to each of the awardees' institutions of higher education. Our winners have impressive credentials. It is very, very difficult to differentiate among the applicants because they all are outstanding. They have significant achievements and are involved in multiple extracurricular activities, respective local communities, in their faith community, and in their educational institutions. And most importantly, our recipients exemplify, say again, our motto, service above self. Now for the awards. Our first awardee is Michael Rodriguez. Please come forward. Michael lives in Maxwell, Texas. He was born in Waco. He has earned multiple associate degrees from MCC with high honors in each case, along with a vocational nurse certificate, all while working full-time at Scott Plant Hospital. His GPA at MCC overall was 3.6. This fall, he'll begin his studies at Parliament State University to pursue his bachelor's degree in nursing. In addition to his work in academics, he has provided private patient caregiving, supervised supported assisted living and memory care patients, provided support services to the Fuzzy Friends organization in your town, and multiple other Axtell activities, too many to mention. Michael was awarded a scholarship in the amount of $1,000. Michael is accompanied today by his grandmother, Eva. Please raise your hand. Stand. Her home is Waco, Texas, although her birthplace was in Sulphur Springs, Texas. She has attended MCC for the past several years, maintaining a 3.61 GPA, while working as a transition case manager at the Methodist Children's Home here in Waco, Texas. This fall, she'll be pursuing her bachelor's degree at UT Arlington, majoring in social sciences with a minor in substance abuse and addiction treatment. She's awarded a scholarship in the amount of $3,000. Jessica, although she could not be with us today, she sent us a few comments that I promised her I would read to you with her comments and thanks. First, thank you all for who have generously donated toward the funding of the scholarship program. I am so thankful to have even been considered as a candidate for this program, and especially to have been selected as a recipient. This scholarship is going to help me continue my education and focus on providing a better life for my son and me. I wish I could be there in person to thank each one of you for this blessing. And rest assured, I will push myself to do my very best in my endeavors in the future of schoolings to show you how much I appreciate the opportunity to pursue my goals. Again, thank you, Jessica. I want to read one other thing also that Jessica received after our selection process was completed. Very small. It says, "Dear Jessica, what an incredible job you have done this spring. Attaining a 4.0 grade point average during the spring semester of 2023 is remarkable and qualifies you for being a member of the President's List. I am proud of your accomplishments, and your faculty are proud also. You represent the best in all of us. Cause others to strive harder. Thanks for choosing MCC and for doing so well in your studies. You are remarkable." Signed, sincerely, Jeanette McGowan, one of our own members of this club, president of MCC. Final award today. He King, please come forward. born in Waco. Her permanent address now is in Robinson, Texas. And her current address is in Abilene, Texas, and you'll understand why in a moment. She is a child and family services major with a minor in psychology at Abilene Christian University and maintains a mere 4.0 GPA. She's involved in multiple ACU student programs, including student-led ministries. She also has multiple work activities supporting the Donor Relations Office, babysitting and organizing worship service at her church in Abilene, and as a barista in a local coffee shop. Very diverse individual. She's awarded a scholarship in the amount of $4,000. He is accompanied today by her parents, Isabel and Bobby King. Please stand and be recognized.
I'm just filled with so much gratitude for the opportunity to be here, to receive such a great gift, and to be surrounded by great individuals. I know I can't speak for myself. My parents have been my biggest supporters and always encouraged me to work for everything that I have. I'm working 110%, so I know they're just as thankful as I am. Thankful for the way they give, and I get to continue my college education with confidence, knowing that this is great. Just continually encouraged to know that the Lord is so faithful, and me being in this place and continue on the path that I'm going. Thank you so much.
I'll mention something somewhat facetiously. My dad, ex-Marine, although there are no ex-Marines in this form. And he's also one of the Waco Police Department SWAT team. Hopefully we'll never have to use this service. On behalf of the Waco Rotary Club, we wish each of our winners success in all of their educational endeavors. To each of our winners and their guests, please remain after the closing of the meeting, of course, within the short group picture of families. This concludes our 2023 scholarship program. Let's have another round of applause for our winners.
President Rosemary, now we skipped two guests. I want to introduce two guests that was at Waco. Really the most back here are with us today from Waco, and we didn't introduce them and we recognized.
Well, we apologize for overlooking that. We're working the Rotary, and we're glad you brought them, Dr. Lucy. Appreciate that. We want all the guests and members we can get. So without further ado, you all came to hear our guest speaker today. So we'll ask Curtis Brown to be chairman of the day and present our speaker.
Thank you, Rosemary. It's my pleasure to introduce a personal friend, Joel Allison. Joel retired from his position as President and Executive Officer at Baylor Scott & White Health in February 2017 after more than 4 decades in the leadership of healthcare management. For more than 2 decades, he worked to grow the system from a few hospitals, outpatient surgery centers, and other entities in the DFW complex to 48 hospitals, more than 1,000 patient access points across North and Central Texas. He served as chair of the Baylor University Board of Regents from 2017 to 2019. He had earned his bachelor's degree in journalism and religion from Baylor University in 1970, a master's degree in healthcare administration from Trinity University in 1973. He's a graduate of the Harvard Business School Advanced Management Program. He and his wife of 54 years, Diane, have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Joel is currently serving as a senior advisor and executive in residence at Baylor University's Robbins Institute on Healthcare Policy and Leadership, where he teaches a graduate course on leadership for the MBA program in healthcare administration. Joel.
appreciate very much the honor and the privilege of being with you today. I want to say congratulations to our scholarship winners as well. Congratulations. Michael, I'm a first generation college graduate, and I was a recipient of a scholarship, and if it weren't for scholarship, I would not have been able to go to college. So I commend the Rotary Club for this program. It's wonderful. Scholarships are so important. Thank you for all you do. I was very honored, then I was humbled when Curtis asked me if I would speak to the Waco Rotary Club. First, I was honored because, as many of you know, when my wife and I moved here in 2017, my good friend Don Riley called me up one day and said, I want you to go to Rotary with me. Don didn't know that I'd been active in Rotary when we were in Dallas and before that in Corpus for years, but I had just not re-engaged. So came to the Waco Rotary Club luncheon, reacquainted with a lot of former friends, good Labor Days, friends I knew through my professional life, and then I met quite a few new friends, so I got active again. Right? And then the pandemic hit and other things, and unfortunately I haven't quite made it back. But who knows? Maybe I could, because it's such a great club. So it's an honor. Well, then I was humbled when I asked Curtis, what did he want me to speak on? He said, I want you to speak on leadership. He said, speak on 21st century leadership. Well, I was humbled because I look around this room, I'm in a room full of leaders. That's what Rotary is. It brings together leaders. In fact, I went and looked again at the website, and it says that what you do, what Rotary is an international service organization whose stated human rights purpose is to bring together business and professional leaders in order to provide humanitarian services, encourage high ethical standards in all locations, and to advance goodwill and peace around the world. It's an awesome goal and vision. And so I know I'm in a room full of leaders. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. Or maybe even like Elizabeth Taylor's seventh husband on her wedding night. You know what to do, but you don't know how to make it interesting. But I'm going to try. I want you to bear with me as we try to see if we can talk about what you all do every day. And maybe as I talk about leadership, and I'm going to narrow it down to two types of leadership that we talk about in my graduate classes. Curtis mentioned that. Teach a 1-hour course to the graduate students in healthcare administration each fall and spring. It's a very important course. It's taught on 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. College students know how exciting it is to have a 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. It's also what they call a 0-hour course. They don't necessarily get credit, but they have to go. So you can imagine how popular I must be on those Friday afternoons. I speak to them on leadership. But again, I'm going to share a little bit about what I share with them about it. But I want to narrow this discussion down today because we talk about all types of leadership. Again, you all have various styles of leadership. We talk about it. They always want to know what are the different types of leaders. And I'm going to talk about two specifically today. And I'll talk about how they intersect. First, I want to talk about one style that I talk about. And when we talk about the different styles of leadership, let me say that you can have all types of styles. But I want to talk about two of them in specific. But we always start by trying to understand for them a definition of leadership. What is a great leader? And so, since that's quite a conversation today, our students are very interested. Because what they hear in the public domain is there's a lot of discussion about is there a lack of leadership? And they're looking for great leadership in all phases of life. Okay, what aspect of life? But they're looking, where's that great leadership coming from? Where do we have it that's leading our country, leading our institutions, leading our organizations today? And so when we talk about what are the definitions of leaders, one definition of 21st century leadership, and I tried to tie it to what I think is today, 21st century leaders inspire others to alter their thoughts and their actions in alignment with an empowering vision. Leaders have vision. Another definition is a leader who is one who sees more than others see. sees further than others see, and they see before others see. So if you think about definitions, I narrowed down to one that I really like, which is a quote from President John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I'd like you to think about who are some of the great leaders that you admire. Maybe the person next to you, but they could be living, past. But think about it in your mind, who's a great leader. As we talk about servant leadership, we talk about it all the time. Think about how those traits align with who you consider a great leader. And then maybe will it encourage you or say, this is what I want to be. Because I'll be honest with you, for 45 years, I wanted to be a servant leader. That was my goal. That was what I wanted to be. The judges that would come from those that I had the privilege of working with over those 45 years. But when you think about great leaders, obviously the ones that come to mind, my students always mention these: Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Nelson Mandela, President Zelensky, the current one, and Martin Luther King, among others. And when they talk about types of leaders, we find that there are several types. There's democratic leaders, there's transformative leaders, authoritarian or autocratic leaders, participating leaders, bureaucratic leaders, servant leaders, and level 5. Those are the ones that we kind of identify. And all can be very successful in a certain situation or role. It may be called for at times, or it may be that that's how that leader chooses to lead. But they can also be effective in a bad way if they choose some of these styles as well as a good way. So, as we talk about it, let's begin with servant leadership. And again, think about who you would consider a servant leader today, and that's what you all talk about, service to ourselves. Exactly where you are. Again, you think Lincoln, you think Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, today, Truman Catholic, and of course, Jesus Christ, the greatest of all servant leaders. So let's unpack what I believe to be those traits and characteristics of a servant leader. We move through those. The one thing I know about being a Rotarian, it doesn't matter what I'm saying, when I'm saying it, how I'm saying it, 1 o'clock you're out of here. It's a effort. I like that. I'll even hit the bell. But I hope I don't want to go that way. So what are the traits? And think about them and align those maybe with your leadership style or who you consider to be a great leader. Number one always is, and when I ask my students what are the traits, so will always come, should be number one. Integrity, principle-centered, ethical. They have high trust. Boy, do we need more trust in our institutions, our organizations, our companies. Another trait that I believe is very essential in great leaders, they have to be authentic. Everyone wants an authentic leader. They have what I call tremendous self-awareness or emotional intelligence. They're very honest with themselves about who they are. Another important characteristic, they're relationship builders. It's about relationships. Healthcare was all about building relations. And some of my friends in healthcare know that. Working with others. It's relationships you build with your team, with the community, with your patients, with families. Skilled communicators. They have to be able to communicate very effectively. They have to be able to listen effectively. Good leaders listen probably more than they speak. But when they do speak, they speak with clarity. They speak with empathy. And they speak earnestly. Here's another one. We were talking about this before lunch. I believe that great leaders are compassionate collaborators. There's a lot being talked about collaboration. Even the word co-opetition, where you may have to collaborate with somebody you're competing with in one role. And we did that in healthcare all the time. We competed like crazy, but we collaborated because how do we get more nurses into healthcare? And what do we need to do as we are dealing with reimbursement? So collaboration is very critical, and being able to bring people together to create a sense of belonging. You support diversity of thinking and ideas. You build that community, and you empathize with others. I think it was a great example of what I consider not great leadership. Y'all remember a few weeks back when the airlines were having all this trouble? They were canceling flights left and right. Remember the story about the United Airlines CEO? He was in New York, and all the planes were being canceled, and all these United Airlines passengers were out there trying to get on the next flight. And thinking, what did he do? Y'all remember? He went and got a private charter and flew. And it became public. And I want to tell you, the difference between that leadership and what I believe was Herb Keller's style back in his day at Southwest. If that had been Herb Keller, you know what he'd been doing? He'd been behind the desk helping these people find the next flight and talking to them, trying to help them understand why they're there. That to me is someone who is a compassionate collaborator and they understand themselves and they have empathy for others. They have foresight, I said visionary. I think John F. Kennedy, his famous statement, what was it? Going to put a man on the moon by the end of this decade. Great vision, nobody believed it could be done. It was done. Some of us are that old, not all of us, but some of us watched that and that happened. I remember very well. Warren Bennis, who I think is one of the great thought leaders on leadership management, says, leadership is the capacity to transform vision into reality. Servant leaders are systems thinkers. We are part of the system. They think big. They look at the big picture. How do things all work together? In healthcare, you've got to learn how things come together because there's a lot of activity going on 24/7. And how does this all match up? And you have to think system-wide. You have to be very strategic and act strategically. You have to be able to lead change effectively. A lot of discussion on change, leading change. One of the books that I asked my students to read each semester is by John Cotton, another wonderful thought leader, in my mind, on leadership. And it's on leading change is the actual name of the book. He talks about how it is timeless. I spent quite a bit of time with Cotton, he's one of my mentors. And he talks about how you lead change effectively. And one of the things that he talks about, and of course healthcare is continually changing, is how do you make it happen? How do you take your role as a servant leader, working collaboratively, move change in the right direction and make it good change? A servant leader leads with moral authority. They inspire trust. They share power and control. One of the traits that I think is emerging more and more, and we'll talk a little bit about it when I go to level 5 discussion. I think a great leader and a servant leader exhibits humility. I think that's one that's going to rise to the surface. We all have influence. How do we use that influence? You all have influence in your sphere, your life, both professionally and personally. How do we influence others effectively? How do we do it with humility? How do we use persuasion rather than positional authority? I could have been the CEO making all kinds of decisions, but I will tell you, physicians and nurses, technicians who were 10 times smarter than I am and knew what they were doing were not going to pay attention to me. I could only do it through trying to get their support and their leadership because they were the ones who made it happen. So it's persuasion rather than positional authority. Servant leaders have a strong sense of stewardship. They are very wise utilizers of the resources for which they are entrusted, of their organization, their institution. And you will find that servant leaders often feel a sense of purpose to the organization or to the institution. And do their co-workers believe that they as a leader are willing to sacrifice their own self-interest for the good of the institution, the organization, for them as their team members. A servant leader is someone who understands the deep human need to contribute personally to meaningful enterprises. People want to be a part of something today that is making a difference. We talk to these young people coming out, we call them Z's, millennials, whatever. You ask them what they want to do. My class, they want to make it better for people, for patients. Get those who are disenfranchised, get those who are marginalized to be able to have access to healthcare. They want to make it better. They have more about helping the organization and what it does than helping themselves. Now, with those as a backdrop of traits or characteristics, I believe of a certain leader, and you can compare them, disagree, argue, whatever, but how they align with your thoughts on it. I want to now talk about how that intersects with what I call level 5 leadership. How many of you have read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins? Okay, yep. Good, and I'm not going to get too much pushback if I don't say exactly right, Jim. You won't understand. Wrong? Okay, tell me after. I didn't get it. But no, Jim Collins wrote a great book. It's time. It's called Good to Great. One he wrote after he did Built to Last. When he was talking about good organizations and what makes them continue to last longer than others that are constantly being taken over and changing. This concept of this, he did a huge research, 5 years of research. I'm going to give you the cliff notes of the book, but it's another one I have my class study. As it came down to, he looked at 28 Fortune 500 companies that had good results that he would put in that category. And he looked at different metrics of why they were so good. And he narrowed that list down to 11 that he did a comparison study on to see what they made that leap from good to great. And the metric he used was how they performed in the stock market. These were all publicly traded. And he looked at the 15 and over, or the 11 over 15 years, and these companies beat the returns in the stock market 7 out of 15 years. They beat all the returns in the general stock market. They beat places like Coca-Cola and others. These are companies like Abbott, Gillette, Walgreens, companies you would know. And what it came down to is it had various factors that were a part of it. But one of the key ingredients was he said they had what he referred to as a level 5 leader. He was able to do a segmentation of level 1 through 5. Let me just highlight. Level 1 is a highly capable individual, very good at what they do. A lot of times they work in isolation, they're independent working, but they're very good at what they do. The second level is they're a strong contributing team member. And you need strong contributing team members, people that bring value to the team. And then he had the level 3 is a competent manager, very good manager. We always talk about the difference between management and leadership. We always boil that down real simplified to managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing. There is a difference. And then level 4 is the effective leader. A lot of institutions, organizations led by effective leaders. Some are very, very good. And they last and they continue. But they're not at that leap of great. Because these many leaders of all types can be very effective. But then he said, to get to level 5, he said that is the executive, where you see, and this is his words, the triumph of humility and fierce resolve, which builds enduring greatness through a paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. That was what he said was needed to take these companies forward to 5 good to great cultures. They channel, he said, their egos, level 5 leaders channel their ego needs away from themselves and into the larger goal of building a great company. It's not that level 5 leaders have no ego or self-interest. Indeed, they are incredibly ambitious. But their ambition is first and foremost for their institution, not themselves. He referred to it as more of a plow horse than a show horse. Remember my uncle was actually born with a plow horse. I remember a big old draft horse that worked hard. Not a show horse. Level 5 leaders, and this was again his quote, they look in the mirror, not out the window, to apportion responsibility for poor results. Never blaming other people for not having good results. Never blaming external factors or bad luck or bad timing. They looked in the mirror. themselves. But they also look out the window and not in the mirror when they apportion credit for getting great results. And they credited their people. They credited external factors. They credited good luck, good timing. We just were fortunate, good timing. And that's what he said made the level 5 leaders. He talked about examples of level 5 leaders. Of course, you go back, you put Abraham Lincoln, today we classify Warren Buffett, Sam Walton, Truett Cathy, Bert Kelleher, Mary Kay Ash, Nelson Mandela, truly level 5 leaders. And they ran great organizations and great companies. So, I believe that you can bring those two together, and I believe servant leaders are the ones that can best go to level 5. You can do that in your organization, there's an institution, you can do whatever part of life you're leading, but you all are all leaders. So just a couple of closing thoughts as you think about leadership. And I'll begin with a quote from the famous American philosopher Waco Rotary, who said, "You must judge a person's greatness by how much he or she will be missed." And then, one that really is interesting, ladies, this came from Margaret Thatcher. Her quote, "Leadership and power are like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't." So, my class will often ask, are leaders born or are they made? How many times have you heard it? Are leaders born or made? You have your own. So when I'm asked that by my class, boy, it's getting tough to teach this class. These kids are getting smarter. It's tough. And the other thing is they don't like my examples sometimes because they've never heard of me. I tried to use Vincent Martin one time. It was just my answer is always yes and yes. I think people are born to lead, but I think some people choose not to. Others choose to. I think some are made because of a crucible or a crisis. I think of Winston Churchill, obviously not a great leader. Wasn't really considered a great leader until that happened. Now we really think of him as great. I think another great leader was President Bush, 9/11, obviously. Crucible, crisis that brought him into leadership position. So again, I think it's yes and yes. One thing about leadership that was emphasized by both Collins and Cotter, leaders never quit learning. It is continuously learning. If you're going to see further, see faster, see before anybody else sees what's happening, particularly for your organization, your institution, your role, your leadership. Close with a quote, anyone can lead because anyone can serve. And I want to thank you for your service to this Rotary Club. Thank you for your service to this great community that we're a part of. Thank you for what you do to make this a better place, not only for Waco, but for the world. You all as leaders are making a difference. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless America.
Joel. It's kind of hard to follow that, isn't it? But we'll try. I want to re-welcome our guests here today. I also failed to mention a big thank you to the Board of Directors. We were sponsors of the last social we had at Walk-Ons. This is sort of a new thing we're doing, so if you or your committee or a group of people would like to sponsor a social, we would welcome that with open arms, as a matter of fact. And we'll probably publish a little bit more about that. We also need to thank the Gradens. They are our Ryla Camper Transportation Organization. We appreciate their efforts. This year, Tyler had to join in, and we appreciate that effort. That's delivering kids to camp and then make sure you go back and pick them up. I got a call from Joanne, and she said, one of the girls are missing, coming back to Waco, and I said, I had nothing to do with that event. All Tyler. And so So I guess it got worked out. Otherwise, there's some young lady from Waco that's still there. That hadn't made the news, so that's all right. I want to tell you all that our next meeting is August the 1st, and our guest speaker will be Dr. Jackson Briggs with the CEO of the Family Health Center. Please stand now for the four-way test.